Perfect. Well, I want to welcome everyone here. The 7-minute life is really morphing. I think that what we're finding out is having some kind of blank tool on a tools page is great, but it's the education that people want. There is really a lot of pain that goes along with time management. I know John's been talking about the unfinished tasks and all those things that he follows, and today we're going to be talking about how you can make your life better. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to make sure that we can get this done. Slideshow. All right, John, just while you're on the line, and then I'll get you to mute yourself out, I want to make sure that you can see my slides.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, and then if anything happens technologically, John, if you will come back in and do that.
Yeah, I'll toggle my camera off, so if it comes on, you know I'm.
Okay, and if you'll go ahead and mute yourself out, that'd be awesome. I'm here because John had touched on a topic that really hit a nerve. The class that he taught on unfinished tasks is currently on YouTube. It's had hundreds of views because I think that that's what happens is that we get to this point where we have so many things overwhelming us that what we really want is we want to find freedom from those things. Today we're going to be talking about a real tool. It's called the 15-minute increment tracking worksheet. John, I guess this probably was in a link, but if you'll put the link periodically in the chat box so that if people want to, they can download it and see it. This is new tool. We are responding to people who are calling us and saying, hey, I've got a problem. This is becoming a community. I am not the least bit shocked that people are coming back over and over again at 11 o'clock Central Time Tuesday morning, because we're going to be doing this at no cost because this is part of our mission. We really believe that people are overwhelmed. And if you watch the video that I released recently, the word overwhelmed, the definition is to be buried under a heavy object. And if you're taking notes, you may want to write that down. I do a lot of word history. To be buried underneath a huge mass. And when I think of that in my own life, I realize that that's part of why I decided to learn, to find out what were the problems with time management. Why is it so overwhelming? And it goes beyond that. We live in chaos. You know, Christmas is coming up. We have all these holidays. We have these high expectations of the things that we want to get done, and we need time, especially at the holidays. Not only do we have everything at work to do, but we've added this extra level of something that should be really special, where we could spend time with our families and look out at things that are incredibly meaningful, but we live in chaos. And, and that's really painful because we feel stuck. And when I think of myself being stuck, I think of having both of my feet tied together, kind of like a cow rope together where you can't move. And the fact that we get stuck is beyond anything that we really can imagine. And it has to do with this to-do list. So today we're going to be talking about a new tool that I happen to put in a binder called the 15-minute increment tracking worksheet. And you should be able to see that this is nothing more than a day that is created into a tracking worksheet so that we can follow along. So I'm going to try to open the chat so I can see what's happening, but I'm not sure I'll be able to actually read it. But I want to make sure that we have questions coming in. I'll be able to see that. We do want this to be really interactive, so please add your questions. There's just no way that we can all understand the to-do list and how much power it has. The to-do list is actually one of the top things we need to do, but we believe we need to fix the way that we've been doing it. So I'm going to talk about fixing the to-do list, and then I'm going to talk about how fixing your to-do list is not really the only thing that we can do. In order to do this, I'm going to step back for a moment, and I'm going to talk about why 7 minutes. We get a lot of questions about what is this 7-minute thing and how does it impact my life? What we're talking about today is your to-do list. So I want you to go ahead and start typing in chat some of the things that you have to do today. If you will, John has said that what we have is a chat bar. If you hover over your chat, you'll be able to see what everyone else is saying. So we're seeing make car rental agreements. I do see that, and that doesn't sound fun. Plan Airbnb, that does sound like fun. Plan homework, take a shower, working on several wealth management plans. Hey, Julie, she's a friend. She was born 6 days after I was, so we're 6 days apart. She was in my wedding. And we're seeing, oh my goodness, look at all these things. The to-do list is real, and if we had an opportunity, that list would grow longer and longer and longer. So keep putting them in there. What do you have to do? Even as you type those things in there, you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's 11 o'clock. How am I going to get those things done? And John, if you'll order new glasses, well, obviously I need stronger glasses too. So why 7 minutes? How can we unbury ourselves from these to-dos? Even as you're typing them in, don't you feel that overwhelming sense of being buried under a huge mass? It's that pain that we're talking about. We're realizing people don't just want tools, they want their life back. So why 7 minutes? I think it's really important to know that we have 24 hours a day. There is something inside of us where we have a faulty assumption. John and I were talking about this, faulty assumptions. We make faulty assumptions about how much we can get done. Why 7 minutes? There are only 24 hours in a day. That breaks down to 1,440 minutes. The beauty of the 7-minute life is we are going to ask people to begin to change their faulty assumptions and become consciously aware, to become intentional about planning out what they need to put on their to-do list. We're going to ask you to take 1% of your time every day. That's 14 minutes. That's all we're going to ask you to take. If you take 14 minutes, 1% of your time, that is going to leave you 99% of your time to live. You know, we see all these other time series, and if you're taking notes, I'd love for you to write down the book, David Allen, Getting Things Done. That's where I got interested, and John, you might want to type that into the chat, David Allen, Getting Things Done. It is a spectacular book. And I've tried to take some of those ideas, that are life-changing and break them down into ways you can use them. If you were to take 1% of your time to think and plan and look inside yourself and decide what is most important, what's going to be in alignment with my priorities and purpose, and how can I make my life better, we're going to encourage you to take just 7 minutes, 7 minutes in the evening to think. Now, as you think through all these things, it's the 7 minutes in the evening that I want you to create your to-do list. Again, I need you to write some of these things down because it's hard. We're going to go through very little content. We're going to take it step by step. Today is life altering. We're going to be giving away something free that's important, that is cool, because it's Christmas time and we want to offer things for free. This is our gift to you. What would happen if you took 7 minutes in the evening to just brainstorm? I hope this isn't a bad word, but I call it vomiting. To literally take everything out of your mind, look at your calendar, and throw everything on a piece of paper and say, here's what I need to do. Rather than waking up and starting scratching notes on the back of an envelope, but to take some kind of piece of paper where you can write down the things that are important. Once you've created that to-do list in the evening, you then have to rank them. Okay, so let's say we have these things that we want to do. We have a lot. I want to do this first. I want to do this second, third. Basic time management principles. You get things out of your head onto a piece of paper, you prioritize them, and then you decide, okay, there are things I won't be able to do. I'm going to prune this out. John's talked about a lot of these things. We have to be realistic. There are 24 hours in the day. There are going to be things we can't accomplish. In the morning, and this is kind of new, in the morning, after people have created their 5 before 11 list, which that's a whole nother thing, I want you to write down this word, realign and recalibrate. John, this is even new to you, I think. What happens once we create this to-do list is we walk in the office, somebody knocks on our door and says, oh my goodness, I've got to have this project finished and I need it by 11 o'clock. And so what happens are the things that you've said you were going to do, something's got to give. If someone walks in and says, I've got a 1 hour or 2 hour project, you've got to recalibrate and decide which one of these things are you not going to do. So in the evening, you write down what you want to do. You prioritize them, hopefully no more than 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things. In the morning, you look at that. You have to recalibrate, realign. And I think what that does for us is it gives us freedom to say, okay, we've got this new project coming in. We don't have to still get all of this done. It's not humanly possible. We cannot go home with briefcases or file folders full of things and stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the evening. Now, if that resonates for you, I'd like you to just write in the chat that we all struggle with our to-do list, that we do write them down. We make these commitments and promises. I want to know if that's what we do. And in the morning, we have that list on our desk. Something happens and we barely get things done. If that sounds like you, I'd like to have you to see, yes, I agree, definitely, yes, I struggle. This is why we are doing these classes. These are real life things. We're trying to point out the problems, because what's going to eventually happen, let me clear that off, what is going to eventually happen as people show up week after week after week. Now, I know Julie Sanders, who's on the line. She's a 4.0 tennis player. I think they just won regionals, went to the state. I mean, they won state, went to the nationals. And I know that Julie doesn't just show up and try to play at the nationals. Julie plays 2, 3, 4 times a week. Everything that we're talking about here is not something you can do once. It's not something you can even practice on your own. The only way we're going to engage in life-changing behaviors is to do it together. First, it makes it more fun. I'm amazed at how many people are coming week after week. We're building a community. John knows these people. John, if you'll put your email in there, I hope that people realize that we want to connect with you. Call John, email me. John, it's Allyson at the 7minutelife.com. Let us know what you need. This is so exciting. The level of engagement is coming up. You cannot just practice something once. You can't learn about a tool. You have to practice it week after week. If they're 24 hours in a day and you have this limited time frame, are you willing to take 1% of your time, 14 minutes a day? I feel like I'm on one of those commercials. Are you willing to do the ab work? You know, it works. 14 minutes a day, 7 minutes in the evening to create your to-do list. And then this is even new for me, but take 7 minutes in the morning, look around and see what you have to realign and recalibrate. I think that's the part that we haven't really thought about. And I know it's true. Even this morning, I had to recalibrate. I had a technical issue, things that we don't expect. So this is it. This is the 15-minute increment worksheet. This is a tool that is changing my life. It is new. It's something you can download. John, you might also want to put the 15-minute increment tracking worksheet back in the chat so people can print it if they choose to. If not, you can just use a piece of paper. By the way, I think coffee is one of the best time management tools ever. It helps my brain wake up. Wake up. Okay, so here's the 15-minute tracking sheet. Now, I've just created this to-do list as a random thing. Some of you may have seen this before, but this would be what I would do in the evening. So I would take my 7 minutes in the evening, and I actually do that in my daily planner where I'm writing all these things down. One of the things that we encourage is that you only have one place for all of your notes. So in the evening when you're writing down your to-dos, put them in your planner. I don't want to be giving away surprises, but remember, put it in your planner. There may be some free things coming. Are you excited about that? Now, not giving anything away, John. You know, I would never give anything away, but you're going to want to stay to the end of the class. 7 minutes, one place, you put all your to-dos down. And even stepping back to think about things that you need to do, it is so much more peaceful to think about it, to write it down, and to not be in a rush to do that. Can you tell me the difference in the chat? What difference would it make if before you left the office or just as you're getting ready for the end of the day, if you took 7 minutes to write down your to-do list? And if you set your phone for 7 minutes, which I do, it is a long time to think about what you need to do. What kind of difference would it make? Julie, I know you've been involved in several of our longer term classes. It makes a huge difference. John, we're getting a lot of people saying, where do you get the 17-minute? It would make you less stressful. Yes, I'm trying to get in the habit of doing this. I must set a timer. John just put in the chat where you can download it. I write down what I was doing so you can remember. I don't do that, but what a huge difference it has made. You know, even people that have been coming to the 7-minute life for a long time, and there are days even I don't write down my to-do list. But if we do that, we come into the day with this clarity of the things that we need to do. Now, I don't know why in the world I put pick up dry cleaning on there, because now that I work at home, I can, and by the way, I haven't had anybody say, hey, Allyson, that's a really good color on you. So feel free, y'all can go ahead and say, hey, that's a really good color on you. You know, these things are not just, love the color things. These things are not just meant to be straight out. We want to know you. We want to know you to know that we struggle with the same things. We want you to feel like we're part of your solution. So here's something that you might look at. Okay, pick up the dry cleaning. Start the 2017 marketing budget. I didn't have a staff meeting today at 11, but I actually had this class, and it takes hours to do that. Now, I did see that someone has raised their hand in the chat, in the question and answer. You want to put that in the chat and make sure it's going to everyone, because we will get to those questions. Clean out email. I know that resonates. Look for the receipts for my trip. I was just in the Bentonville, Springdale area coaching a CEO, which was really fun, having a long-term coaching contract, helping them for a day and a half. Called John, I actually need milk. I don't even have cereal in the house. I've got to overnight some package, review the expense reports, which I'm doing at 12:30, and draft a proposal. These are real things. These are things that we do. So in the evening, you take your 7 minutes, you write down your to-do list. You may be doing some of that even as we talk. And then you have to start saying, okay, I know I have to do this. It's a hard stop. I have the webinar today. That's that would be number one for me. Number two, let me look at this, is that I'm meeting with someone at 12:30 to do the expense report and to give her the receipts. So those things are real. John and I will have several conversations during the day. We've already had one. Draft a proposal. I have got to get that finished today. So I look at these things and I say, am I going to clean out my email? Probably not. It's in the evening. It's in the morning. I'm now renegotiating and realizing that's not valid. Today I'm really busy. I can't do this one. I don't even have dry cleaning, so I'm not sure why I do that, but I do have 4 baskets of laundry to fold. I do have to go get milk. So now in the 7 minutes, I've written down what I need to do. I realize I can't do it all. So I start renegotiating, realigning, and pruning, and I've ended up with these 5 things. How easy is that to do? But rather than trying to walk in with some kind of mental agenda, when you've gotten up, you've hurried through the shower, you haven't even eaten breakfast, you hop in your car, you fasten your seatbelt, you drive to the office, your head is swirling with not only the things you need to do today, but the things you didn't do yesterday and the day before and the month before. And your mind's racing forward towards Christmas, and it just is overwhelming. Again, I'd like to really make this interactive. Is this legitimate? Is this something that we face? How simple would it be to come in and say, okay, here are the things. Now, I'm not going to be able to get this actually correct, but there are a lot of things that we can't do. Now, before we go forward, there is a new concept that we've been teaching called the choke point. So before we go back to how to use the 15-minute increment worksheet, I want to say here's why. Why? So you do want a sheet of paper and a pen. I think this is one of those things that the 7-minute life is gonna really bring to life why these things are a problem. So this is my attempt at drawing an hourglass. Here's what happens. You walk into the office with your to-do list. You've taken your 7 minutes in the evening and you've created this to-do list. You've renegotiated some of it by marking it off. You've prioritized these things and said, okay, I'm going to get these 5 things done, 4 or 5. So you walk into your day, you've got the plan, you've made the commitment, and the 7-minute life is really simple. You take task number 1 that you said is most important. You begin to work on it. This is the start of your day and the end of your day. You begin to work on it, and you go from a period of start on a task to finish. And I assure you, when you get number 1 and you are finished and you get that check mark, that feels great. That's productivity, that's efficiency. It's moving in, taking what you have and getting it done. Number 2, taking it down and marking it off. Number 3, how great would it feel if you could actually mark off these things off your to-do list? Again, if you'll put in chat, wouldn't that be great? And then if you'll put in chat, how often does it happen that you walk in with your to-do list and you get it all done? Rarely. So here's the image that I want to give you. You've taken the time, you're learning to be a part of the 7-minute life. You've created your to-do list. This is at the start of your day. It's sitting on your desk. You've made these commitments. You're really beginning to improve. But as you sit that piece of paper on your desk, you are laying it on your desk with all the file folders and to-do lists that you've walked in the office with for the last day, the last week, the last year. Let's hear it in the chat. Is that something that happens to you? When you sit at your desk and you have your to-do list, it just becomes another thing sitting on your desk. And instead of focusing on the 4 or 5 things that you said to do, all of a sudden now you're in a panic because you made a promise and a commitment to focus on another file, another project, another email that someone is waiting on. And so now, all of a sudden, you begin to become overwhelmed from the moment you walk in the door. But it's not just the file folders. You sit down at your desk and you open your email, and now it's not just the 10 or 12 folders that are on your desk, it's the 50 emails, some of which are valid, some that need responses, and a gazillion of them that have been in your email box for 2 years. And even if you don't see them, they cause you to have panic. What's in there? What have I not done? So here's your to-do list sitting on your desk. It's now getting, can you see what's happening? It's now getting overwhelmed, but it doesn't end there. Now someone's knocking at your door, or someone says, hey, did you see what happened in the paper? And then your personal phone begins to ring. So now you've got people calling you because great things are happening in their life. And then all of a sudden, text messages from your kids or from whoever. And then the last part of what happens is as you look at that, you begin to have mental clutter along with it. And you hit what we call the choke point. And I'm quiet because I want to let that sink in, that all of these things get to a point where you cannot even breathe. Now, let me take a minute and see if there are questions up to this point. What are you feeling when you realize that this is happening? What are you feeling? Apathy, depressed, paralyzed, like giving up, discouraged. Is this a real problem in your life? Has it given you a visual of why this happens? It's a yes or no question. Does this resonate with what we feel day after day after day? Yeah, me too. In fact, this morning I woke up with it. And I think it's important to understand that the 7-minute life is learning that there is pain, that this begins to cause anxiety. And if you've heard me speak before, I think there is a very real possibility that 1 in 4 of you on this call today are depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean that all of this, and that's not the only thing, but all of this has taken a toll on your life. John and I are trying to provide solutions, but we're providing solutions to things that can't just be fixed by time management tools. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I think that's part of the mission of the 7-minute life. We're not alone. I don't expect people to put it in chat, but you're welcome to. I am not alone when I say my time management, my skill sets have caused me pain to the point that there are times that I'm so stuck, I am frozen in life. And I want to take a breath there. This is important. How do we fix this? The sad part is we can't really fix this. We can just begin to make it better moving forward. And that's what this tool is. John, again, if you'll put the link to the 15-minute increment worksheet in the chat. This is a tool I've actually just bound into my planner. Again, just as a hint, if you're in this class, we're going to be having some free things. John, I don't want to give away the secrets of what we're going to be giving away free, but it's a Christmas present to the people. If you have this 15-minute increment worksheet down, let me make this bigger. Hang on one second. I'm going to come in here and make this much bigger. I'm going to go back to play from current slide. So this worksheet is just that. It is simply a 15-minute increment tracking worksheet. When you take your 7 minutes in the evening to think, what do you do with that? The first step, and I'm going to go back to this. The first step is that you try to decide which ones you're going to do. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I do need milk. I really do. And so there are just a few things I'm going to do. I'm going to prioritize them. But the first step that you take after you've created your list is you begin to say, how long? How long will this to-do list take? So the staff meeting, it's actually a webinar today, is going to take from 11 to 12:30. So I know that it's going to be an hour and a half. 11 to 12 is what it'll last, but from 12 to 12:30, from 12 to 12:30, we're going to take questions. Look for the receipts. I actually already have them. They are paper clips, so that might take 5 minutes. Call John. We've got a lot of things going on. That'll probably take 1 hour. Going to get milk, maybe 30 minutes. And the drafting the proposal is really important, so that's going to take 2 hours. So now you look at these things. How long is it going to take? It's going to take 1.5 hours. I'm not even going to count this. It's going to take 1 hour. It's going to take 0.5 hours. It's going to take 2 hours. So I begin to add all these things up. So 1.5, 2.5, 3. I've got 5 hours of work to do today. This is a reality check. And this is where we come in, and John and I have been talking about, we have faulty assumptions. Faulty assumptions. And John used a great metaphor. If you ever have taken your kids to school, and it took 8 minutes, I live very close to the school. If even once you were able to get to the school in 8 minutes and drop your kids off on time, we create these ideal scenarios where we think every day we're going to hop in the car and get kids to school at 8 o'clock. And because we've done this once out of 30 days, we somehow think that can happen over and over. We have faulty assumptions about how long things are going to take. The reality is you think it's going to take 8 minutes, you're running late, you hop in the car and your kid says, oh, I forgot the permission slip that was supposed to be signed by you. Let me go back in the house and find it. Or, oh, I need to get my lunch. Or you remember, I didn't get my briefcase. And so you're trying to do this in 8 minutes, but that's not a reality. The reality is you should hop in the car 20 minutes ahead of time so that you're not just having your heart pounding. You know, all those things that happen, this is really crazy. So I write down, okay, this is going to take an hour and a half, an hour, a half an hour, 2 hours. I've got 5 hours of work today. So we hit the choke point and we come in here. This is where you begin to use this. This might be in the morning. It might be in the evening. I typically do mine in the evening. This is where you take your to-do list and you try to avoid the faulty assumptions. And this becomes a self-teaching tool. And one of the things, John, I'd love to do is have people come in and join our Facebook page. We really need to engage in that. And so here's what happened to me today. And you can write these things down. What time did you get up today? Well, I got up a little late because I stayed up late. We won't go into that. But let's say you got up at 7 o'clock and it took you until 8:30 to get dressed. So this might be dressing, eating breakfast, doing all that. It may have started at 6 for you and gone to 7:30. But if you printed it out, I want you just to take an example of what I'm doing. So at 10 o'clock, John and I got on the call to prepare for the webinar that we're teaching right now. So I know that this is a hard stop, this class that I'm teaching. So during this period of time, I was frantically making sure that all my technology, all of my slides, all of my concepts had taken place. And now, once the webinar is over, we'll be making sure that we're sending out all the free presents. So again, we're going to be sending out that. So here's where my faulty assumption was. I thought this webinar was going to take from 11 to 12:30. I had booked an hour and a half time. The reality is it has taken from 8:30 and it will go until 1 o'clock. So it's not an hour and a half. I can't do the 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1. It's going to take 4.5 hours for me to do something that I had on my smartphone that I said was only going to take an hour and a half. Just one of my tasks. What are you thinking about that? Are you seeing these faulty assumptions? Let's see what people have to say in chat. Have you had something like that happen? I see that we do things for breaks. Definitely, yep. It's going to happen today. Every day, always. Thank you. Yes, I don't see it. It's the story of my life. Me, 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 me. Wow. So here's the problem. This is the faulty assumption, is this. Now, if I could go back, and I see if I can, I'm going to go back to this full-size one. So let's look at my day today. I can't really see all of this, but what I thought I had booked off from 11 to 12:30, this was my expectation for my day to do this webinar. I've got a 4 o'clock coaching call. Let me see if I can see these things. I've got a 4 o'clock coaching call with a financial advisor that's going to go from 4 to 5:30 today. So that's another hard stop. And then I have Bible study. Again, I wish I could see this better. I think it's from 6:30 to 9. So these are the things that I have on my to-do list today. My expectation is an hour and a half. That's what I've done. This is the planned amount of time. This is what it will really take you. So let's look and see what happens. This did not take an hour and a half. So on this side, I'm going to put that it actually took from 9 o'clock. Again, I wish I could see this, to 1 o'clock. So look at this. It's a very visual tool. Here was my expectation. I had a faulty assumption. I thought I could do all these other things. When this time ended up being taken, this time no longer exists. So now I look at this and I think, well, great. I've got some time to do the other 4 things on my to-do list. And then I have this coaching call from 4 to 5:30. The reality is at 3:30, I have to begin to plan for this. I go through the class at 4 to 5:30, and then there are typically things that'll take me 15 or 20 minutes to send out to my coaching client. Again, I have scheduled an hour and a half, and it's ended up taking me at least 2 hours and 15 minutes. I had a faulty assumption. So now I go to my Bible study. It's from 6:30 to 9. What I did not put into that is that I have to leave at 6 o'clock. I have drive time to get there. That wasn't on my calendar. When it's over, guess what I have to do? I have to go get the milk. Literally, I don't even have milk in my house. So now what I thought was going to take 2 hours, and you're beginning to see this, is going to go from 6 to 10, and I need 4 hours, not a faulty assumption. Where does that leave me to draft the proposal, which I have to get out today? Where does it leave me to have these conversations with John about things that are coming up that are going to be really available? And what happens to this, all those things, when I say I want to go to bed at 11, what ends up happening is I go to bed at 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. Again, I'm going to stop and let you talk about that for a minute because we're not done. Oh, don't forget the cereal too. Tell me if this is something that happens every day of your life. I need a nap looking at your schedule. Sounds mild. It gets worse, guys. So this is where the choke point happens. You've come into the office. You've taken your 7 minutes. You only want to do 5 things. It seems really no big deal, except for the fact that when I've assumed how much time it's going to take, I should know better. I've got 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I try to do number 1. I get here. The webinar I will complete because this is one of my favorite things. But everything else on this list is going to get stuck in the choke point. And so what happens is at 10 o'clock, I look back and said, I made these promises to get things done. I have hard stop deadlines. And when I break these promises, I feel bad. It hurts, and I become overwhelmed. And that leads to worry, stress, and anxiety. Okay, it gets worse. You can now see that I have a very full day, except for the fact that these to-dos are not the only thing that has to happen in my life. What about the fact that I have to eat? So at some point, I have to either cook food, go pick up food. That's probably going to take an hour of my day, at least, for breakfast, lunch, and supper. This list does not include any of the emails that are in my email box. This list does not include any of the phone calls from clients that want to hire us or do coaching with us or have a customer service piece. This does not include the other errands that I need to run. This does not include the personal phone calls that I will receive from my family. This does not include the text messages, the news. This doesn't include anything. What about the bills you have to pay? What about the taxes that you have to get done? What about the filing? What about simply going to your mailbox and getting the mail out? And as crazy as this sounds, I begin to be stressed to even go to the bathroom. I feel like there's not even time for me to go to the restroom. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Yeah, cleaning. I see all of that. Cleaning your house, washing the clothes, doing the laundry, having time for even television or reading or whatever it does, having time to exercise, for me to read and pray. Where does all that fill in? What happens is that we have these expectations that are built on faulty assumptions. We create these, I don't know what we would create, these promises that can't possibly be happening, and we end up never getting to what I call enough. We never get to enough. And what happens is we feel bad. Now there's one more layer to this, is that this is just one day of our lives. This is simply one day. Remember the choke point? This is a tool that is incredibly powerful, but this is for today. It doesn't go back and fix all the things on your choke point. Let's talk, yeah, books that you can't read. Let's talk about this. What questions do you have about this 15-minute increment worksheet? Why do we need to do this? Yes, we need a lot of white space. We don't have any white space. Why would this worksheet be important? Let me just take a breath. Why is this 15-minute increment sheet important? What are you seeing in this? Because those unfinished tasks on today's 15-minute have to go someplace. In fact, what they do, very insightful, is they go back into this choke point. So when you wake up, do we have any guidelines on how much time to leave for white space? That's something that's important because we can actually learn the time. Yes, we need to consider all those things. Our time management is too optimistic. But where do you need it, or where's the actual time management? Just 15 minutes. We're going to come back to that, John, if you will write that down. You end up wanting to choke yourself. All of these things. That's why we're teaching these classes. This is a new tool that my guess is a lot of you didn't even know happened. And back to what we were talking about, let me clear this out. Back to what we were talking about as we first started doing this, this becomes an opportunity to move from a faulty assumption, which we all do, including me. I thought it would take me something around 2 hours to prepare for this, and it actually took 6 hours because I want to deliver. So I had a 4-hour miscalculation on this. But these faulty assumptions can be self-correcting. We can begin to take ideas that are faulty and begin to make them more of a reality. If I come in and say, okay, I'm going to teach this webinar, I need to know it's not going to take an hour and a half. I need to come in and say it's going to take this long, and then I can come back and do the reality check. Yes, today it's taken me this long. But if I'd planned it from here to here and this is all I have, on this side it's what was the actual time. This is the planning. As you go through your day, write down what it really took. So the next time I teach a webinar, when I'm doing my 7 minutes in the evening, I can plan in a realistic method, and it becomes self-correcting. It's a teaching tool to myself. And if I do it, back to Julie Sanders, who plays tennis, she doesn't just show up at the events. She plays tennis day after day after day. This is not a tool you can do once. This is a tool you have to do day after day after day. And what will end up happening is you'll realize in the 7 minutes, let me come back again, in the 7 minutes that you're planning and you write down all these to-dos, as you transfer them to the 15-minute increment worksheet, you begin to realize that you can either have some kind of ability to do more. You can be a super person. You can do more. Or you can choose to have some time for life and realize that everything cannot be done, which means rather than having this choke point, we need to begin to narrow our scope down to the things that we love to do, that we are good at doing, that we have a strength. And we need to have hard conversations with our coworkers, with our family members, saying, I cannot do it all. When you go back and you look at your daily progress report, are there things in there that you did not need to do? Whether it was television or talking about something or even worrying, how much more productive can we be if we begin to write down things that not only need to be done, but at least a few of them matter to us, that they make our lives more meaningful. The reality is this is a container you cannot break, and we try to all the time. So what gets squeezed out is our sleep, our family, our faith, our dreams, our hopes, and we become overwhelmed, buried under a heavy stone. It all begins with the to-do list. It is a very important part. You start by taking your 7 minutes in the evening and you create the to-do list. You then begin to say, okay, I can't do that. This is going to take probably 2 weeks and I have it on my to-do list. That's crazy. I can do this. I can't do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I'm not even going to have time. I can do this, but I can't do that. And the reality is I have to do that. So I think we're starting to see the things that we can and can't do. This choke point is a huge piece. The 15-minute increment worksheet is a tool. Again, I'll get John to put that in the chat. And the key to all of this as we wrap up with 5 minutes to 12, and then we're going to open it up to questions, is that I think why people are coming to the 7-minute life is that they do want to get more done, no doubt. The problem is you can't. You cannot get more done. As soon as you put something into your calendar, you're instantly knocking out something else. 24 hours cannot change. When something else lands on your desk, something is going to be kicked out. You can't change the container, so you choose what's going to get kicked out. And I think what gets kicked out are the abilities to look at our priorities, to live into our purpose, to even have 7 minutes to think about that potential. Who can we be? Who are we today? How can we help the world tomorrow? How can we be kind? How can we spend more time with our families? How can we set goals that inspire, motivate, and help other people? What gets kicked out? We put in something and our potential gets kicked out. Our excitement, our commitment, our passion, the things that we've said we want to do in life, the things that we've determined are important, they get kicked out, our clarity, our conviction. And when all those things happen, it's as though all of that, everything is overwhelmed by this heavy mass that is not movable, and it crushes us. And I know my heart beats fast. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that if we come back to these classes week after week and we begin it to be a community, and we go to the 7minutelife.com Facebook page, and I don't even know, John, if you'll put the link in there, and we start to say, I did my 7 minutes, and I've created my to-do list, and I understand that I underestimated, and I have these faulty assumptions. How can you help me? What do you think? Let's talk to each other. Let's hold each other accountable to do these things. I've had to recalibrate. I want these priorities. I want to know my purpose. And when you have something that you can share, share what you've accomplished. Share the potential and the excitement. So this is the last slide I have. It's becoming more and more and more important to me. It's this, that life is a journey. We don't have all the answers. It is a step-by-step daily opportunity to move forward. The key is we need to be on the right path. That's the key to the journey. Are you on the right path? Are you focusing on the right things? And will your life matter if you can make some changes in your life? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. John, if you will come back on live if you're there.
I'm here.
Okay, John, let's start with your comments about all this.
Well, we've got some questions. I'll hit those in just a second. I think one of the biggest ahas when we do this, and people are probably going to, I see them heartily agreeing here, and that is the problem is we don't take into account all the necessary stuff of life and all the, what I call ramp time, getting on and off of a task that we have to set up. And one of the things that the 15-minute time increment sheet does is it not only, when you start thinking through all those details as you're doing this, it not only helps you plan more realistically, but what I find is oftentimes I catch prep work or things that I need to do that I haven't been thinking about. Like I'll have a task and I'll know that I have to send some information to somebody, but then I'll realize I haven't looked that up yet, and that's going to take time. So I think it red flags stuff. And Christine said she loves that ramp time. I think I got that term from a guy named Eben Pagan. He has a course called Wake Up Productive that's wonderful. I think that's where I first heard that. But yeah, we need time to kind of get up to speed on getting ready. And what I'm finding is the more we can get habitual about attending to the ramp time, that really helps life move a lot more smoothly. For example, really little things like I wanted to start drinking more water every day, and so I fill a glass and I put it on my counter at night the night before. And just by putting it on the counter the night before, I know I'm going to do it. Or putting my stuff that I need for, I'm a big yoga fan, putting my yoga mat and my water bottle in my car ahead of time, or setting it by the door ahead of time. Those little bitty things, like if I don't do that and I have to scurry around and try to figure out where my mat is, try to figure out where my bottle is, when it comes time to go, and I'm living in that idealized time, and I think it only takes me 6 minutes to get to yoga, but then I remember my bottle, blah, blah, and then I come walking in late and the whole thing's miscombobulated. This 15-minute time increment worksheet I'm finding is smoothing out a lot of those wrinkles because I'm just getting more realistic. So it's just, I can't tell you all the benefits. Somebody suggested that if we would all give ourselves a 30-day challenge of doing this, that's a really good idea, and that may be something we need to offer as a community, where we went through a 30-day challenge together on doing the 15-minute time increment worksheet, or 7 minutes and 7 in the morning, in the evening, and using this tool. If we were doing that together, I think that would be really powerful, and we'd learn a lot from each other. I'm going to hit our questions here. There were a couple questions about the white space. Someone asked how much time for white space, and that's so subjective. I honestly don't know how to answer it, other than to say, if you use the worksheet for several days, you'll figure out pretty rapidly how much stuff you're failing to take into account for. So the big key would be going back and making sure you write down how long something actually took. I'm good about filling out the first part of it, but it's really good to look at the end of the day, or have it laying out in front of you, and as you finish things, jot down how long something actually took you. Or even just writing down, maybe at the end of your day, the things that popped up you didn't think of, so that you begin to monitor that more closely. But that's really subjective. And Allyson, you may have something to add, but I think that's really going to vary person to person. But that worksheet, it will teach you how much white space you need, hands down. It just will. So I can't remember who asked that. I hope that answers it. If it didn't, jump in and let us know. Someone asked earlier, Allyson, and I think this is very individualistic, do you keep a separate personal to-do list and a work to-do list, or do you have just one list?
I just have one list.
Okay.
I think when I'm planning my 7-minute, it's the 7-minute life. And I sometimes think we don't plan enough of the personal, and it's just as important, if not more important. So we've had a suggestion from a couple of people in the chat that one person every 2 hours will block out 15 minutes.
That's a great idea.
And then, of course, we talk about working for 20 minutes and taking a 5-minute break. But even that's hard. I mean, we get so wrapped up in the busyness and the tiny little tasks that we have. And a lot of times what I'll do is, I know something just takes a minute. This is a great example. Yesterday I was eating. I rinsed off my plate and put it on the countertop, and caught myself and thought, okay, open the dishwasher, put the plate in the dishwasher, which would have taken me just a minute, but they stack up, and all of a sudden, not only have I not done that, but I'm mad when I walk.
It becomes a stressor for you because it's an unfinished task. It's an open loop. And yeah, I love the quote, and it was a coach, and he was the cover story in Success magazine this last week. I want to say Coach Wedmore is his name. His famous quote is, "If you don't have time to do it right now, when will you have time to fix it later?" And and those things compound if we don't attend to them in the moment. And somebody asked about where to put white space, like strategically where to put that on your calendar. That kind of, I find for me, that varies day to day because of my day gets interrupted by appointments and errands. I work from home and I have a very fluid schedule. You kind of want to look at the workflow in your space or in your home. And I suspect there are some natural gap times. What I do though, like I usually put my catch-up space right before lunch, and I put it right before the end of my work day by about an hour. That's when I check email. I check it at 11 and I check it around 4, unless I have something going on where I know I need to check it. But that's also a catch time for me, white space time. I intentionally do it then because, for example, if I do something at around 11, there's a natural break point with lunch where I can cut into lunch if I need to and do something a little quicker, or I'm not going to get lost in a rabbit hole for 2 or 3 hours because lunch is going to push a break on me. And then same thing at the end of the day. I put those blocks oftentimes near the end of the day. So I get my work done first and then deal with the distractions afterwards. So you'll have to look at the workflow. The key is to make sure that you make that white space work around your priorities, not the other way around. So yeah, Nancy said, "You're right. I normally check mail and Facebook first thing in the morning, lose valuable start time." Yeah, I would completely get away from checking email first thing in the morning, unless you're in a service business where you just absolutely positively have to do that. Or if you're going to check email, and I suspect this will fall apart for most people, if you are going to check it first thing, you need to put a timer on it and give yourself 10 minutes and then get out of it. But that usually frazzles apart for people, because what happens is you start responding to things or get jerked into things, and it takes more than 10. Let me look at the questions here.
Hey, John, can I step in?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have had a huge crowd today, and
Yeah,
we're now getting a question if we can have a downloadable copy of the daily planner. And so as we creep in, can I tell the surprise, John?
Tell them I'll tell you what.
Why don't you write it up there?
I'm going to squeeze in the last question.
Oh, John, you're keeping me on I feel like the person is, stay tuned at 10 o'clock, find out the details.
No, I'll unveil the surprise and I'll come back to the question.
No, go for the question.
Okay.
I like anticipation.
This is a question we get pretty regularly. How to deal with bosses who expect too much was essentially the question, where they're the king of the last minute meeting, or they're piling things on you, and they have a lot more control over your time than you have. And this really varies from boss to boss and what your relationship is like with your boss. But one thing that I think is good to do when bosses spring something on you or you're feeling overwhelmed, I think sometimes it's good to go to the boss and say, "Listen, I'd like to know what you want me to work on first." Not that it's all got to get done, but like if you have a boss that you can come to, hopefully you have a boss you can come to and say, "I know you want me to go to that meeting tomorrow. I'm also working on these 2 projects. One of those I'm going to have to put on the back burner. Which one would you prefer I put it on the burner?" In some ways, what you're doing is you're doing 2 things when you do that kind of communication. One, you're making them aware of just how much they've put on you, because a lot of times they just lose track of it. They're in their own stuff, and they are doing to you what we all do to ourselves. They're grossly probably underestimating the time it takes for something they've given you. You know, they think, oh, that report will take a couple hours. And by golly, it takes 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours instead of a couple hours. So you're recommunicating to them what all's on your plate. And sometimes that they need that reminder. But you're also putting the weight of responsibility and decision for that a little bit in their lap, or at least get their feedback. Or let them know. Another way you can do that is you let them know and ask them to give you feedback if you're wrong. And I document that. I'd email it. I'd be like, hey, I got your request for so-and-so. I'm going to work on this, this, and this. I'm putting this on the back burner for the moment. Is that okay with you? You know, you can do those kind of things. But you have to, the real key on all of that is communication. And Allyson and I have to deal with this all the time. When we had a big discussion yesterday and today around something that was, we had a problem with our site, and there were about 5 different ways to solve it. And we realized in retrospect, we did exactly what we're talking about here today. We expected it to take a short period of time. Allyson ended up with 4 hours of work on it, and it still didn't work, and we got to back the whole thing up. And today we kind of go back to that renegotiation. We had to renegotiate our priority around that problem because we have bigger projects, and basically had to say, okay, what can we do? And this is real key. What can we do to take this from being a project down to something that's a task level? You know, because neither one of us can afford to have another project on our plate right now. And so we've come up with a solution that's not the ideal, not the perfect solution, but it is very viable for our customers and our audience. And it can be done at a task level than a project level. But you know what? We discovered that after we spent 4 hours, you know, or Allyson spent 4 hours on it. And so some of those things just happen where we just, you know, we get sucked away in those things, and we have to go back and renegotiate. Does that make sense, or do you have questions around that? And then we'll go with the big reveal. We got a couple quick things. Is 7-Minute Life Planner also available download or ebook? Oh, that was the one. All right, let's go. I'm going to go ahead and give the big reveal. And then I have a question.
I've got it ready. Can I share it?
You share it, and then
I got to be Santa Claus today. It's like
super, your big red bag.
John, I want to say thanks to everything you do. Oh my goodness, John is the real instigator of a lot of this, and so John, thank you for everything you do. Let me get rid of this. What we're doing is we want to make the 7-Minute Life way more relevant. So John, if you can look at chat and make sure that I'm answering all the questions that are coming in. Okay. If you will go,
I'll review it.
If you can write this up on your chalkboard, it's the7minutelife.com/survey. John, if you'll put that in chat or put it on your chalkboard. If you will go to the 7minutelife.com/survey and take this survey, I'm going to send you a free copy of the 7-Minute Life downloadable daily planner. And so in order to do that, you hover your mouse over the survey and you take the survey. It is not a very short survey. We are finding incredible information about what people need. We get basic information about who our target market is, where they're coming from. Are they married? Are they single? What's their education? Are they a stay-at-home parent? That's something we get a lot of information that people want, is to have more information for stay-at-home parents. What industry are you in? And then it goes into, in one sentence, describe yourself. Who are you? What do you think? What do you want? Where did you find out about us? You know, we want to know if you're finding out about us from social media, if friends are telling you about us. We had an enormous crowd today. I want you to know that you can send this link the 7minutelife.com/survey to anyone you want, and they're going to get a free copy of our planner. So these are things that you can do to help not only yourself, to help us. How would you describe us to a friend? How likely are you to refer us to a friend? What would you miss most if we could not use this anymore? And John, I think you would be the answer. I'd miss John Arnold. What's the one big thing we're missing? How can we help you? What are the top 3 things that nearly stopped you from using us? We're a small company and we want to do things better. What are the top 3 things that persuade you? We're giving away free webinars every Tuesday that I believe are life-changing. What could we do to make life better, to have you buy our products, attend our workshops, participate in the classes that we teach? What can we do to make your decisions easier? Is it pricing? Is it timing? Is it too much work? And this is where we're getting a ton of information. How do you rank your own time management skills? We're getting a lot of good information on that. What are the top 3 problems? Is it procrastination? Is it not having enough job training? And is it not having enough job training for your supervisors, for the people you work with? Do they need to know that they're working on faulty assumptions? If they think something's going to take you an hour to do when it's really going to take 4 hours, do your direct reports, do your supervisors need this? Invite them to come to these classes, invite them to watch this webinar. Do you not have enough goals? Is it interruptions? Is it too much to do? We want to know about the health. We want to know if you have time to exercise, to eat healthy, even simple things like, are you drinking enough water? And then how many hours of sleep are you getting per night? This is something I struggle with. Are the things that you have faulty assumptions kicking out the sleep that you have, which makes you less productive? Do you know your purpose in life? Can we help you do that? Are you getting through the choke points so you can experience meaning and fulfillment in life? Are you happy? Surprisingly, most of these people that are taking this survey are marking this a 3. And happy is not the end result, but we see that these choke points are hurting. Do you have clear goals in life? We're going to be talking a lot about goals as we come into the new year. You want to tell your friends, we need you to let people know about what we do. The number 1 thing for happiness is having good friends and strong relationships. Do you have time to go have coffee with your friends? You feel stressed? Are you depressed? I am really shocked about the answers in this. We have a lot of people that are saying they are depressed. Even your religious affiliation. We are not here to say what people should have, but we are here to say that everyone believes something. And it's those beliefs that drive the passion and the purpose. And I think our religious affiliations do matter to us. They matter to how we live our life. And then this is where I get to be Santa. Where would you like me to send that downloadable planner? What address, what name do you want on it, and when do you want us to start it? Because this is a pre-dated planner. When do you want to start it? Do you want to start it December, January 1st? You hit submit, and then within a couple of days, today I'll try to get them all sent out, but within a couple of days, you will get that, and then hopefully John will begin to send emails out to help instruct you on how to learn how to use this. Please share this page, the 7minutelife.com/survey. Any of your friends, your coworkers, send it out on your Facebook page. We will send them this for free. They will be added to our email list. They can unsubscribe at any point, but if they want to be invited to these things and learn how they can do that, I've also put in on this page that we are growing. We obviously, the more we grow, the more we'll be able to offer to you. We do work with businesses. We do speaking, coaching, team training. I also work with a lot of individuals. So if you need us, let us know. We are super excited about giving away a free prize today. So John, it's 12:17. Let's open it back up to questions.
Yeah, let me, could you put that link in the chat real quick? I was trying to do it, but I was responding to too many
Hang on,
things.
I'll put it on the screen. I have it I have it.
I did ask people a question that I don't think it was in a survey. I was too busy running chat, and it's been a while since I took the survey, but we would like to know what social media you use most. Several people said they saw this on Facebook, and we want to connect with you where you are. Jean and Nancy, your books are ready to go in the mail, so you're going to get them. Made sure that happened right now, so I don't forget them. They'll go in the box as soon as we get off the call. There was, what did you ask me to do? You just wanted to see if there was other questions?
Yeah, can you see the link on your screen now?
Yes, I can. Thank you. And I'm going to copy it in the chat real quick. Seems like there were a couple. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I did want to remind folks there was a replay. We had somebody who said, Laura in Hawaii from Hawaii said that this was her first webinar with us and she really enjoyed it. You may have missed early on, right at the beginning, I was telling folks, we also archive these webinars on our website and on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and put in the 7minutelife.com, you should have no problem finding our channel, and you'll find the vast majority of our webinars are there. Also on our website, if you go to 7minutelife.com/blog or click on blog when you get to the site, we put them there as blog posts and put them up as quickly as we can afterwards. So there's a lot of great content there where we've covered unfinished tasks, we've covered how to say no so you're not overcommitted. Speaking of these, next week's webinar is on microaction, and we're going to talk about how to use the power of really small actions to get big results, and how do we identify those things that can compound to really create a transformational difference in our lives. So it's, great time management is not about big flashy things. It's the little stuff done consistently over and over and over again. I'm not seeing other questions though. Let me skim back through. There's a lot coming on through here though, so I may have missed something. I'm almost delighted that somebody told me that they social media takes too much, Christine, and you limit yourself. Cool. All right, I'm taking a quick peek. I'm not seeing questions. Yes, Linda asked, same time next week. We have as a standing appointment, if you will. We do our webinars at 11 every Tuesday. I did one evening webinar last week, but that was a fluke because I failed to press record on my morning webinar, and rather than just re-record it, I offered it live again. And I'm hoping we can do more evening webinars. I know there are a lot of people who work or have time commitments in the day, but right now, every Tuesday, we have a standing commitment at 11 a.m. to be here offering webinars. And if you ever missed an email, if you're ever wondering what's coming up, if you go to the 7minutelife.com, we have an events page. If you click on that events page, there's a calendar, and you'll see we've got right now all of the webinars listed through the end of the year, and all those registration links are live, so you could look ahead and see if there's something particular you don't want to forget, because we've got several coming up that are going to be, I think, really great for the end of the year. We have, if I can remember these right, I'll try to remember them in order. Next week's micro actions, and I'll be sharing, I'll be the one leading that webinar. Then Allyson's going to do a webinar on life goals. How do we look at the really big picture of life goals so that we can dial into the daily things we need to be doing right now? So, when we get to the end of our lives, to me, this is all about living without regret. That webinar will be. And then we have, there's another one I'm not remembering in there. We have one coming up where I'm going to talk about setting goals for the new year. And that'll be kind of an interview style webinar with Allyson and I both on the line. So I think that's about it for upcoming webinars. Feel like I might have missed one. All right, let me look.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
I'm just going to close this out with a comment. We're getting a lot of appreciation from people that are loving this. The key is we appreciate them. You know, this is something we're all learning together. The 7-Minute Life would not even exist without the people that are coming. We had an enormous crowd today. I hope next Tuesday this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, tell your friends to take the survey. They'll get it for free. When you get it, it is like a 278-page download. Don't feel like you have to download the whole thing. You can download just some of the worksheets and print them. You can print just 1 month at a time. So make it work for you. But we're giving away these free downloadable planners. So make sure you tell your friends. And I'm so glad that so many people are coming back over and over and over again. John, you're a rock star.
Yeah. These guys are rock stars showing up every week, making time in your busy lives. I'm really just grateful.
Hey, we're already getting phone calls. So
Johnny Bravo, love it, Keith. You're really funny. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm not seeing any other questions, but we'll hang on for 5-6 minutes just in case. But I'm really appreciative, folks, answering the survey. The great thing, and I don't know if Allyson said this while she was explaining the survey, but I think one of the things you're going to find when you fill out the survey, it's not just helpful to us because we can make sure we dial in our content to be really specific to your needs. But Allyson and I both found, and it was designed this way, that when we took the survey, it was very revealing to us on our own time management. The survey is almost simultaneously an assessment of where you are. So go ahead, Allyson.
hey, John, I put in there that one of the ways you start your day is with a 10-minute tidy. And we're getting questions as to, because that's kind of white space. It's a great way to start. They're wanting to know what the 10-minute tidy is.
Yeah, I can jump into that. When my kids were little, I started this because our house could get cluttered really easily and quickly throughout the day, just, mail left on the table, toys left out, that kind of stuff, your environment just getting disorderly. And I got inspired by a show that used to be, I don't know if it may still be on the air. There was a children's show called The Big Comfy Couch. I'm dating my kids now. And the host, Luna the Clown, had this ginormous couch. The seat was about this high. And she had all this stuff stored in it, and she would be pulling it out all through the show. And so by the end of the show, there was just stuff laying everywhere. And she would end every show saying, "Who made this big mess?" And she'd say, "I did. Who's going to clean up? I guess I will." And she said, she did a 10-second tidy. And then they would fast speed the camera, and she would scurry everywhere and do 10 seconds, pick up everything in the room and hide it back in the couch. And I got inspired by that, so I created what I called 10-minute tidies at our house, and I try to do them, I insert them kind of as needed. I used to do 10-minute tidies habitually, like in the morning or the evening. Sometimes I will intersperse several of them in my day if like my desk is starting to get out of order, but it's just I set a timer for 10 minutes and I just run around. And this is great if you have kids. Like literally I'll go in the kitchen or set it on my phone. I'll set a timer and go, "Hey everybody, we're going to do a 10-minute tidy." And for the next 10 minutes, we all run around putting things away and hiding things in the couch. Well, no, we don't hide it in the couch, but we're all putting our stuff up. And it's just amazing how rapidly that raises the level of order in your office or your home. Just a habitual 10 minutes, boom, 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 every day or a couple times a day. It makes a huge difference. So if you're a TV watcher, I cannot sit still while if I watch something, I'm working on something. But I also have made a habit of, if I do watch a show and it has commercials, it's actually on TV and I'm not binge watching on Netflix or something, I take every single commercial break and I do that work. I do 10-minute tidies, well, whatever they are, is commercial break. But I do task in every commercial break, and that too makes a big difference. Brianna said she loved that show. Yeah, Luna, my favorite character was Major Bedhead, if you remember him. you just never know where inspiration's going to come from. I'll insert something here, and maybe I need to go find a link for this because there's a lot of parents probably on this call. And the 10-minute tidy was also a card in. I made a chore deck. We tried all kinds of different things keeping our house clean. And I made a chore deck for my kids. Well, it's for the whole family. And I took everything that needed to be done in our house to get the house clean, and I put it on individual cards. And some of those were 10-minute tidy cards, but I had it ordered in such a way that if every person in the family picked 3 a day, everything in our house got done that needed to be done to clean it. Now, did it always work ideally in terms of like you didn't always do the whole bathroom at once because the bathroom might be 5 cards and somebody may have, climate the toilet, scrub the tubs, or do the floor. Those may be different cards. But the overall order of our home went way up, and my kids learned how to do literally everything, and we all had to do everything. And that was one of the best things I ever did. But I put 10-minute tidy cards in that stack so that I taught my kids to habitually do that in their home. So.
All right, John, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. That was hilarious. Someone said, hey, you need to plug in your battery. It's dying. Right. So I want to thank everybody for being here. It's amazing. We're really building a community. Make sure that you go to Facebook and let's create a conversation to hold each other accountable. John, I want to say thank you to you. People are going to come back week after week after week, and there are a lot of things coming. If you have questions, we'll try to get to them. We're a small company, so make sure you fill out the survey, get your downloadable planner. John, in that link, when we send it out, let's send the video on how to use it, if you'll write that down. I just want to say thanks. We'll get this replay up in the next 48 hours. John, is there anything you want to close us out with?
No, I think you covered it well. The main thing is all of this means nothing if you don't go download that 15-minute increment worksheet and fill one out. And I would download it and print it as soon as you can and either fill one out for tomorrow now or for the rest of the day, or print it out and set it someplace where you're gonna run into it tonight or in the morning. Because you might have all the best intentions in the world, but I suspect you're just like me. Those intentions don't mean something if we don't set ourselves up to achieve, and you need to trigger yourself to implement this today or tomorrow. So I print that immediately and set it somewhere you're going to see it. If you aren't in a situation where you can print it right now, put a note up somewhere visible. It says 15-minute increment, but set yourself up to make sure you use that tonight or tomorrow. Because I will almost lay money on it that if you don't act on it within the next 24 hours, you'll be hard-pressed to pick it up and do it.
Hey, John, we're getting some. Oh, yeah, it's not clickable. You just have to put it into type it into your address bars, and let's make sure it works. The 7minutelife.com/survey into your address. It is not clickable on the screen, so I want to make sure that people can get that. And this 15-minute increment worksheet is not inside the planner. It's something that you print off separately, and I just put it in a separate place. So this is just we'll probably eventually bring one up. I want to make sure people can get to the survey. If John, will you
try that? The one that Carrie put up clicked for me, so I recopied hers, and I'm trying it. I just put it in again, and the one I have is clicking for me. It may be the platform you're on. Like if you're on a phone or something, it might not be clickable on the platform you're on. But for me, I couldn't read